إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدث بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Praise be to Allah. We seek His help. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our hearts and bad deeds. Whom Allah guides, no one can misguide him, and who Allah lets stray, no one can guide him. And I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, having no partner. And I bear witness that Sayyidina Muhammadan sallallahu alaihi wasallam as His final messenger. O you believe, fear Allah as you should be feared, and die not except in the state of Islam. O mankind, be dutiful to your Creator who created you from a single person. From him, He created his wife. From them both, He created many men and women. And for Allah, to whom you demand your mutual rights, and do not cut the relationship, kinship, surely Allah is ever all watching over you. O you believe, keep your duty to Allah and fear Him and always speak the truth. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'na, wanfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna ilma. O Allah, help us learn what is beneficial to us. Help us learn from what you have enabled us to learn and increase in our knowledge. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Ali, may Allah please be with him, by Allah, if a single person is guided by Allah through you, it is better for you than a whole lot of red camels. And this is the hadith stated from Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Brothers and sisters, I always help us reflect on this hadith for a very important reason, which is that this work of da'wah should not be just exclusive or allocated to certain exclusive group of people. It should be the responsibility for all of us, that everyone that are sitting here, it's the responsibility for all of us to give da'wah. And should not just be limited to one particular imam or an imam, community scholar, or khatib. Everybody here has an important role to play, and Allah has placed us or positioned us in a very particular reason that we need to continue to reflect upon, that how am I able to leverage my abilities that Allah you have given me? How am I able to pass it on with the knowledge and the wisdom that I have, and not just to hold on to it, but to demonstrate that the knowledge, not just through our words, but mainly through our actions. So, brothers and sisters, all of us have an important role to play. We're all our positions, whether we're playing a role of a father, mother, or community member, or even in our business communities, we own businesses, we're entrepreneur. Allah has positioned us, and something we need to continue reflecting upon. How am I able to make a difference in the lives of the people based on the abilities that I have? How am I putting into the better usage? Allah has given all of us amazing skills, and Allah also has individualized our pathway to Jannah. Allah has individualized our pathway to Jannah, and that's how Ghafur Rahim, how merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, that He has individualized his our individual pathway to Jannah based on what? Based on our abilities, based on the situations, how much we can handle. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. We have not burned you with anything except what? Your own potential. From Ayah 286 to Al-Baqarah, all of us, Allah has placed us in a very particular positions or tests that we go through. وَلَنُبْلُوَكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. That all of us have an individualized pathway to Jannah, and that's how Ghafur Rahim Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, that we all have a different pathway to Jannah based on the circumstances, based on how much we're able to handle the difficulties and the challenges, that my challenges, based on my abilities and based on how much I'm able to handle, just like your challenges are maybe different, or based on how much capacity that you have and strength that Allah has given you, that you're able to meet those particular challenges. So that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so Ghafur Rahim. Brother and sister, I want to help us reflect today is on a very important concept, which is really to sustain our discipline, specifically the consistency, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to look into us in terms of how we're moving forward, and especially post Ramadan, 2 weeks that already happened post Ramadan. We need to be asking ourselves that how am I continue to develop the habits that I've already developed, the good habits where I was more God conscious during the month of Ramadan, am I able to continue to sustain those? Am I able to even go further? Because now the test star is even much bigger for all of us, is that because the atmosphere or the climate or the situations, we're not in the same sort of routine like we were in Ramadan. So our test is even much more bigger. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked by so many Sahaba Karam, what is the most beloved deed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And what did Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mention? The consistent ones, even if they're small or few. So something that I want to help us reflect upon, and Aisha radiallahu anha said, إِذَا أَمِنُوا عَمَلًا أَصْبَحُوا. When they did a good deed, meaning they who the Sahaba Kiram, the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they did a good deed, they maintained that good deed. And so the person might feel, how am I going to continue Taraweeh after Ramadan? Or, well, the Taraweeh is like what? It's like Qiyam al-Layl that we could always do on a daily basis. So there's no way we're going to pray the same number of Qiyam or fast every day like we were doing in the month of Ramadan. There's no way we're going to be able to maintain that same amount of charity even after Ramadan. But maintaining such consistency is a sign for what? Is a sign of your love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is a sign that the love we have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how we're loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how does that speak to the love? How does that speak to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in particular? How the scholar mentioned something very particular in this way. They said if a person is able to maintain consistency of the good deeds, it is actually a testimony to being sincere for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because if we waver with those deeds, that means that those deeds there are external factors that derive the performance of those good deeds or lack the performance of those good deeds, which means that those good deeds rest upon something other than the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or at least they may be highly motivated by things that are external to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we're consistent with our deeds, even if they're few or small, like if we have already established picking up the Quran, like during the month of Ramadan, that we're going to be translation. Some of us are not the Arabic speakers, so we even have to put extra effort in terms of understanding what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning. How is that this ayah is particularly speaking to me? So this is where we are we consistent in terms of establishing what we have already established, and how are we going to maintain and sustain those particular habits? Because the maintaining the steady and presence of Allah's love and concern for Allah's love in the lives, no matter what our emotional state is, no matter what we're going through, we still have to be in our consistently reflecting and assessing our level of iman. Is it in where is it in the Surah and Safa? Meaning that are we above it or below it? Are we maintaining it? And that's what the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, that we're also loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something we need to reflect upon is that if I'm continuing to maintain the consistency in my deeds, that means again it's a reflection that we have, and the relationship that we have developed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that Allah is calling upon us, especially when we are automatically wake up like 3 or 4 in the morning. There's definitely a call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instead of going to our phones or looking at what's going on the social media or news or all those things that we have or emails, how about we get up and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, that Allah, you have woken me up during the time of Tahajjud, during the time of so many of the individuals are sleeping, that Allah, you have given me an special invitation that you have woken me up. So how about you make the wudu and inshallah make just 2 rakat and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how we are exert ourselves in especially in the Qiyam and Sujood, to develop that relationship and to continue to maintain, sustain that relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically. And that is the test, that is basically also a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has waken us up in that middle of the night when so many individuals are just have no, they're either busy or sleeping. And so this is a true love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have, that He's sending us an invitation specifically to wake up like in the Qiyam al-Layl, in the right in the middle of the night, and even for the Fajr, that we're able to wake up for Fajr as well. So if you woke up this morning for Fajr, we should have thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, that Allah, you have given me another day of opportunity, that we should be thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, that you are able to leverage me in ways that I can make a difference in the lives of the people, starting with my family first, starting with my immediate family, that I'm able to make that impact, being that leader at home first, that I'm able to spend that quality time with my family, ensuring that I'm able to meet the rights of my wife first, I'm ensuring that I'm able to meet the rights of my spouse and my husband. That's how we need to be looking at that. How am I leveraging the time that Allah has taken me up for? Alhamdulillah, الذي أحيانا بعدما أماتنا وإليه النشور, that Allah, you have taken my life momentarily away from me. Now here I am. Thank you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you have given the life back to me. What am I doing with it? Am I putting into the better usage, the abilities that I have? Like I mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and mentioned specifically in Ayat 20, meaning that what all the ulama also agrees upon, that Allah, we have to be able to maximize our potential in every single way that we're able to do on a daily basis, because our effort is what counts the most. Our efforts is what counts the most. We cannot wait on the results. We cannot wait on the results. Like just like you mentioned, especially in Surah An-Najm, we learned that in on ayah 39 and 40, we learned that وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. And the simple translation is that there's not for man except for the good for which he strives, and his efforts are going to be seen. His sincere efforts and his actions, the efforts, the sincerity, the ikhlas, the flus that we have in our abilities, the things that we're doing, that we're trying to maintain the consistency, the routine we established during the month of Ramadan. How am I continuing to maintain and sustain that consistently? Because the effort that we're putting in is a sign for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have, that we're maintaining that consistency. And like I said, if we waver with those deeds, that means that our deeds rest upon something other than the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to reflect upon that. What is my intention in the efforts that I'm putting in the projects that I'm involved in the community projects that am I involved in? Am I doing it for to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, to ensure that I'm doing it only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And we all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like I said, only looks at what our sincerity, our ikhlas, and our efforts, and we leave the results in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. We learned in Surah Al-Isra, ayah 19, وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةَ وَسَعَيَ لَهَا سَعْيَهَا وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ سَعْيُهُم مَشْكُورًا. Allah did not say وَكَانَ تَحْقِيقًا مَشْكُورًا. Allah didn't say وَكَانَ نَتِيجًا مَشْكُورًا. Allah didn't say the results are awarded, right? Allah didn't say the results are awarded, but what is awarded? The striving is awarded. Our ikhlas and our sincerity, that is what is awarded. Just like at the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were so many Sahaba Ikram, they were only focused on their efforts, and they were at times were even feeling guilty when they were not able to participate in the battles. There were so many of the battles, they were not able to participate because of various circumstances and conditions and the issues that come about. They were not able to participate, just like Jabbar alayhi salam, or Jabbar, he was not able to go to the Battle of Uhud. His father was able to go to Battle of Uhud, but he was feeling guilty. He was feeling guilty that he was sad at the same time that he was not able to go to the Battle of Uhud, and his father was able to go, just like Sa'ad al-Khaythama. Sa'ad, he was able to go to the Battle of Badr, but his father, Khaythama, he was not able to go to the Battle of Uhud, of Badr. And he, on all that time, he was feeling guilty that his son is gone. And in fact, he never came back. He was martyred. He became the Shahada. That's the story of those individuals. So he was able to go to the Battle of Badr, but all this time, Al-Khaythama, he was feeling guilty and sad all this time. Why? Because he wanted to be also participating in the Battle of Badr. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created an opportunity for him that he was able to go to the Battle of Uhud, and he became the Shahada. He was martyred. And all the time he was waiting. So those families, they were competing with once against each other. And so our test is what today? Our test is actually much bigger when I look at it, because we are living in the most luxurious lives that we are today. How are we thankful with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is that really reflecting in our abilities? Is that reflecting in our actions? Specifically, are we maintaining the consistency like I mentioned about? That's how we are tested today. Are we being the advocate for the people, especially not staying silent? And silent means what? Consent. The courage is what matters. Courage is what is leadership. If we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give all of us the courage to speak the truth, all of us must have the courage to speak the truth in today's time. And that's specifically what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, Hajjat al-Wada on the 10th day of Zul-Hajj, "Balligh anni walau ayatan," that convey on my behalf, even if it is one ayah, even if it is one ayah that we should be able to convey on. He was not expecting people, and during or post his khutbah, for everyone to start becoming scholars. He was not expecting people to do that. All he was expecting people to at least take one of his character traits, one of the ayah from Quran, and be able to implement it in their lives, and also to pass it on to others. Just like in the Battle of Khaybar, when the treason happened in Medina, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all he was expecting people to invite others to Islam, when he made an announcement that I will give the banner to someone who is most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so even at that time, there were so many of the Sahaba Karam, the known and the unknown Sahaba Karam, they wanted to fit that description. They wanted to be that individual who could take the banner. And so the point here is that the profound wisdom of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all he was expecting Ali, because he was looking for Ali, and he gave the banner to Ali, and the expectation was not to conquer and start fighting and doing destructions, and because Ali was really wondering what is the instruction here, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all he mentioned to him that go to Islam, invite others to Islam. And that's all you have to do. Invite others to Islam. And there's one more thing you have to do on top of that, which is what? And not only invite them to Islam, but also remind them of the rights that is due upon from the creation to the Creator, creation to the Creator. That means what? We all have to ensure that we are meeting the rights right? That's how we are going to be continuing to get tested today in today's times, that are we at least conveying on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam path, even if it is one ayat that we're able to take it and transfer. And then the last thing that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically mentioned, especially in the khutbah, which was what I started my khutbah with, which is that by Allah, and he told Ali specifically, by Allah, if a single person is guided by Allah through you, it is better for you than a whole lot of red camels. It is better for you than a whole lot of red camels. If a one individual trajectory you have changed because of one good character trait you adopted, even if a smile on your face, you're able to make a difference in somebody's life, then imagine the ripple effect of hasanat that we will continue to gain in times of that we are today, in times of fitna, we'll continue to gain hasanat. Whether I'm getting the message to for people to come forward, you please make the space for your brother. You have to have the plus in your heart to be able to make the space for your brother. And when you do that, the results do come. And so, inshallah, please make the space for your brother. And inshallah, Allah will make space for you. Please come forward. So, brothers and sisters, the point here that I'm trying to make is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also expected Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ. Meaning what? Your job is to communicate. That's what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is supposed to do, is to try take the message forward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was the walking Quran, he was the guide, he was sent for the entire humanity, not just for Muslims. He was sent for the entire humanity to be the guidance, to be the role model for everyone. And so the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set the expectations even for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in return, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told all of us that we have to continue to advocate, cannot stay silent. We have to show in our actions that yes, we what matters is that we believe in the justice for everyone, we believe in the social equity for everyone, and we cannot get completely discouraged based on the results that we're seeing. But we are starting to see the results also because you see all of what's happening at the universities, that they're individuals, they're not even Muslims, and you see the students, they're advocating because we're treated as individuals that we know when we're to get oppressed, or when we're not heard, when our voices are not heard, and when we're speaking the truth. That's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to continue to help us, and we're starting to see the results. And unfortunately, that we're the results that we should be seeing in the other part of the world is what we're not seeing, because what the problem is, what the tragedy of the entire Muslim ummah, the tragedy of the entire Muslim ummah is what? That they undermine the what? The capabilities of each other. They undermine the strength of each other. That's why we're seeing the tests that we're going through, especially in all parts of the world, is what? That we are continuing to undermine the abilities that we should be in terms of strengthening one another. Instead of in strengthening one another, sometimes we're actually pulling the leg of each other at times. So this is where we need to be asking ourselves that, am I doing my part, or am I continuing to stay silent and looking the other way when the history, where are we in the history? Because you don't want to be looked at even at the time later with your grandchildren and kids in the future. We'll talk about, well, what did my parents do? What did they leave behind? Especially and when there's going to be much more difficult times ahead of us in terms of the fitna and everything that is increasing. So we cannot get complacent. We cannot completely focus on the results, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at our ikhlas and our sincerity and our actions, and we continue to leave the results in Allah's hands. And something that I would like us to reflect upon is that specifically, I want to leave the story with you guys. Is at one point, I myself was missing the Jum'ah prayers. I was myself missing the Jum'ah prayers, let alone the khutbah. And I was feeling bad in my heart that I am missing the Jum'ah prayers. And it's an obligation of every Muslim to come to the Jum'ah prayers and listen to the khutbah and Khatib attentively, and to take upon the action implemented in our lives. And I was in this classroom teaching in the Fort and other school districts, that I asked the school principal to allow me to come to the Jumu'ah prayers. They were able to accommodate on certain occasions, but not all the time due to the limited budget of substitute teacher to come into the classroom, monitor and supervise. Long story short, I had this bad feeling in my heart that I'm missing the Jummah first, and it's an obligation of every Muslim. And and what I learned from this particular story of mine is that if you have a love and sincerity in your heart, and you're doing it not just for yourself, for others, the results do come no matter what. Results do come on the schedule, maybe not immediately at our schedule, because that's how we get tested and how patient are we are. And so the results do came, alhamdulillah, I'm here standing the member, giving the da'wah to all of us. And what I learned from is that you continue doing your part, just like the prophets and all of the prophets, especially so many of the prophets, Nuh alayhi salam, 950 years, he kept on going. He kept on going with the intent of what? Making the difference in the lives of the people. And did the results come for him? Maybe only few people, only few people came, or his very immediate members were not even listening to him. And just like so many of the prophets, if they only focused only on the results, then they would have really quit. And that's where we need to ask ourselves that, am I doing my part? وَلَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ, that we are going to get tested through the difficulties and the challenges that we're going to face through our illness. And all of us have particular challenges, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so ghafur rahim that He has individualized our pathway to Jannah. All of us have a particular pathway to Jannah, and then we need to continue to reflect upon, is that, am I doing my part today? So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to maintain the consistency of our good deeds, and to also help us reflect upon what am I doing with my life? Am I putting into the better usage the abilities and strength that I have? And to give us the ability to also make a difference in the lives of the people, and also give us the ability and courage to speak the truth, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to also give us the ability to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of the favors that He has bestowed upon us and our families. وَقُولِ قَوْلِي هَذَا وَاسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهِ وَلَكُمْ وَلِسَائِرِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ فَاسْتَغْفِرُوهُ إِنَّهُ. Brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wa salatu wa salam ala Rashidul Mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Brothers and sisters, the time, all of us are lost for time, but the good news is for those who are continuing to leverage this time for the betterment of themselves and for the humanity. We should always be asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and especially the dua we learned in Surah Al-Kahf, ayah 24, وَقُلْ عَسَىٰ أَنْ يَهْدِنِي رَبِّي لِأَقْرَبَ مِنْ هَذَا رَشَدًا, meaning that, oh Allah, guide me to the near way truth than where I am standing right now, because we could have achieved all of the things in the world, houses, multiple houses, businesses, corporate titles, everything maybe may have achieved already, maybe going through, but is that really going to help us come to closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is that really helping us getting what we are, all of us are seeking for, is the Jannatul Firdaus? Is that really going to do that? Yes, we have to work hard. We have to do what we can to be able to provide for our families. But if we don't have guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what have we really achieved so far? Corporate titles, businesses, multiple businesses, houses on rent, is that what we only came here for in this world, to be achieving those? Is that what we that's the biggest test that we have, that I ask everyone to continue to reflect upon, is that, what am I doing today? How am I advocating? Am I putting into the better usage, making the difference in life of people, and starting my family first? Am I meeting the rights of my family first, especially the relatives? Because when I continue to learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may forgive his rights. Mr. is right, because why? He is Ghafur Rahim. He's immediately kind. He's immediately close to us, and based on our deeds, none of us are perfect. So so based on our deeds, there's no way we can able to go to Jannah, but only Allah Subhanahu wa Taala's mercy and His immediate merciful, that He's close to us. We come to Him. We ask Allah Subhanahu wa Taala guidance. He rushes to us. He rushes to us. But are we really meeting the rights of each other? This is the question we need to be asking ourselves. How are we with our transactions, with our individuals that we meet in our businesses and transactions, and how are we in our sincerity in every single thing that we do? And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our efforts at the end of the day, accept our efforts, just like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically told and we learn about it. يهدي بالله من رضوانه سبل الإسلام ويخرج منهم. Whoever seeks pleasure of Allah, Allah guides them, brings out the darkness in light by His will, and guides them to a straight path. And we also learn specifically, which is that you don't guide whom you love. إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء وهو أعلم المهتدين. We hope that people are guided when we pray for them, but it's only up to Allah for accepting our efforts and du'as. Sometimes we get discouraged, like I said, and some people may not be guided, even with all our efforts and everything that we do. And this is what was told to Allah, to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you don't guide whom you love, and you specifically. It's only up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our efforts. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our intention and sincerity, and to put everything in ikhlas and sincerity in everything that we do, and we leave the results in Allah's hands, just like the results came from me. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to accept our efforts and sincerity in our actions, and to help leverage us in ways that is going to make a difference in the lives of the people, and help us to also progress on a daily basis to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد صليت على إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم انصر إخواننا المحمدين سبيلك في كل مكان في فلسطين في غزة اللهم انصرهم اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم Wallah, give us the courage to speak the truth. Allow us to be the source of guidance for each other. Allow us to be the source of strength for each other. Allow us to be the source of happiness for one another. May Allah give us the patience of the people, especially the people that are going through sufferings and so much that they're seeing, especially their children are continuing to go through famine and they're dying in front of them. The parents to also elevate their status in Jannat al-Firdaus, and also to help us to get reunited with them also in Jannat al-Firdaus, and also make our last deeds the best deeds, and give our book of good deed in our right hand, especially when we die. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروا يزدكم واستغفروا يغفر لكم واتقوا يجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين باسم ربك العلي الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء الأحوى سنغلق فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله
إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا في الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.